Welcome back, everybody. Austin-based psychologist, floral designer, and author Andrea Zeddies is here to tell us about her first storybook for kids. You can see it right there, Charlie's Friendship Garden. It's a story that explores friendship, empowerment, resilience, and it can give your kids a little break from the screen time this summer. Dr. Andrea is here to tell us more. Dr. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so thrilled to be able to say that this book was actually inspired by your dad, which I think is so sweet. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my dad was born in the 20s and he had polio when he was 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
So the book is really inspired by his story and his dealing with polio as he grew up, going to school for the first time. But he was just such I would say a magical person. He was a really wonderfully kind and patient person who had a lot of inner peace. And so I really wanted to write the book to honor him. He had a really, amazing life where he did so many things that maybe you wouldn't expect him to have done. So, for example, he went into the Merchant Marines and he served in World War II on a ship.
Whoa.
He was a professor at UT in Spanish. And then later he became a botanist.
A Renaissance man.
He was a Renaissance man. Yeah.
He was good at everything.
He was good at everything.
Oh,
yes.
man. Well, so we're talking about him as a kid, actually, here in this
Yes.
book. So I wanted to ask, as a psychologist, I know you've worked, you work with both kids and adults, but you've spent a lot of time with children, especially evaluating kids for extra needs and things like that. Why did you want to write this book specifically for kids?
So I wanted to highlight that we all have differences. And I think it's important for kids to learn at an early age that it's okay to be a little bit different. For my dad, it was polio. For other kids, it could be autism. It could be wearing glasses, having a broken leg, cerebral palsy. There are all kinds of things, that make us different. And then just things you can't see. And mental health disorders, for example, are things that you can't really see. They're like invisible.
I'm glad you brought that one up.
Yeah. And so I want kids to learn that not only should we be kind and respectful and have acceptance towards other people, but we really need to honor our own special gifts. And I think when we can highlight those gifts, it does help bring people together.
So that's what you've done here in this book. I'm glad you've already used the word magical, actually, because magical is the word we're going to use again. A magical green thumb is what Charlie has. Can you talk to me a little bit about what he can do?
So in the story, since Charlie can't play on the playground like the other kids can, he ends up just kind of digging in the dirt for a while. The kids don't really know what he's doing. And as the months of the school year go by, it turns out that he had been planting seeds. So he had been planting a garden that was going to be seasonal, that would, pop up with flowers all year long.
And so, at the end, kids get in on the action, right?
That's right. So they are so amazed by his gardening gift that they decide they want to learn how to garden as well. And they start asking him questions, and they want to know how he figured this out, and how did he know how to plant an annual? How did he know how to plant a perennial? And so he's able to teach them and really share his gifts with the other kids.
Well, I could learn a thing or two from Charlie. I want to ask a little bit as well about how you connected with the book's illustrator, because it's a funny way.
It's a funny way. I thought, how in the world am I going to find an illustrator for this book? And I was searching on Etsy for something else, and then I saw someone had an illustration shop. And then I started looking at different styles, and I found this woman, Lauren Austin.
Perfect last name.
Yeah, exactly. She's out of England. And I just reached out to her and I said, hey, do you think you'd want to work on this project with me? And she said, well, let me do a sample for you. So she sent me a sample. It's one of the pages in there. It's the one where Charlie's sitting on the window seat.
Okay, I'm flipping. But
so,
she really did a good job of bringing your dad to life.
She did. Once she showed me that picture, I was just blown away by how she captured Charlie. She just captured his inquisitiveness, his curiosity, but also that kind of like inner peace, you know, where he's not asking for anything from anyone. He's just doing his own thing. And that was really my dad. That was the essence of my dad. So.
Well, Etsy is a good place to pick
Etsy's
up
a great place.
an illustrator, and illustrators do so much work to help bring books to life. I think that's wonderful. She also did a good job of throwing it back to the 20s with some of the stuff she put in the background.
Great with the historical items, yes.
Okay, we're in our last minute, so I want to make sure we talk about this Harvard study that you've read that has to do with flowers, because you're a flower ranger as well.
I am, yeah. So it's called the Harvard Ecology of Flowers study. And so it actually shows that if you just have flowers in your home, that it will decrease anxiety and depression. And it actually, even though they're at your house, if you go to work, just having them there at home waiting for you actually decreases your stress at
Can
work.
my husband hear this?
So basically,
you
have
brought them today, and they're so lovely.
Thank you.
I mean, they put such a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
And now, like, getting to come back to work tomorrow, I'm going to be looking forward to that.
Exactly.
And you actually have a way to help calm folks down, adults and kids. So we're going to do that real quickly.
Okay.
You brought little roses or candles to do this with.
I have roses and candles.
Okay.
Okay. So we can use flowers to help us with a breathing exercise. So this is one way to demonstrate it to kids. And then later they can do it without.
Got it.
But the flowers, we're going to learn a breathing technique called the 4-4-4 breath.
Okay.
So when we breathe in for 4 through our nose, we're going to actually smell the flower. We're going to hold for 4, and then we're going to blow the birthday candle out.
Clever.
So,
okay, let's do it.
Ready? Okay. Now hold for 4 and blow out the birthday candle.
It doesn't have to be lit.
And then you do that for a total of 4 times. And then it actually triggers the same neurotransmitters in the brain that help us to regulate our nervous system.
What a clever way to teach kids.
Yeah, to have emotion regulation. And they can learn this at a really early age.
I've done this breathing before and it was never this fun. So I'm going to stick to the flower and candle method. Some really beautiful ideas here. And I think it's so wonderful that you honored your family. Dr. Andrea, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, parents, teachers, and librarians can purchase the book locally at Birdhouse Books on Burnett or in Georgetown at Lark and Owl. Or you can go online and learn more about Dr. Andrea at flower-rx.com.